All right, West Virginia fans, clean sweep. WVU and Deuce McBride have huge weekends. West Virginia sweeps the red hot Kansas Jayhawks. The New York Knicks and Deuce McBride make major news in the postseason and sweep the Philadelphia 76ers. So, on tonight's show, we'll talk a little bit about Deuce McBride. We'll talk about the Mountaineers, and we'll talk about a lot of fun topics on tonight's show. Before we do, if you're a West Virginia fan, please remember to like and subscribe to Jersey Ear. We really appreciate the support. Got a lot of fun things planned this summer. We're going to be putting out a lot of content this summer. So if you're a fan of Mountaineer sports and college football or college sports in general, definitely like and subscribe to the show as we grow this thing. That being said, let's get into the show. So it's a big weekend for West Virginia baseball. We're going to break down each of these games, game 1, 2, and 3 of the sweep, and which players stuck out. Let's start off with game 1. And game 1 really came down to Maxx Yehl. You know, he was definitely the dominant pitcher in that game. You look at what he did: 9 Ks, 6 hits, 1 run in a complete game, threw over 120 pitches. And this is a guy that came off Tommy John surgery just a year ago, and a few weeks ago left the game early with an apparent injury. And he's able to get back on the mound the last 2 starts and really pitch well for the Mountaineers. Obviously, you can see his record at 7-1, and he's been a guy that's been reliable for the Mountaineers. And most times when he has the ball in his hand, he's been completely dominant. So another great performance from him. You talk about a Friday night showing from him where West Virginia wanted to get the mojo rolling early, and they definitely got it with him. You talk about what he was able to do, and saving the bullpen because he won a complete game was absolutely huge, setting up the series for the Mountaineers. So Maxx Yehl, dominant performance, and he's just been outstanding this year. Gavin Kelly, talk about dominant performance. Gavin Kelly, man, this year has been red hot. In this one, he hit his 5th home run in his last 4 games. So he's a guy that definitely is going to be in the pros in the major leagues coming up in the next few years. He's definitely going to go down as one of the Mountaineer greats. So Gavin Kelly having an outstanding season there. Armani Guzman came up big in this game. You know, he had 3 hits, 1 RBI, and 1 run. So he's a guy that's been kind of moved up and down the lineup, but he's a guy that when he's hot can do a lot of great things for the Mountaineers. So he had a great game on Friday night. Tyrus Hall went deep, had his 4th home run of the season. And then it was West Virginia. It was a top 10 win for West Virginia. Heading into this one, the last top 10 win they had was versus Texas Tech in 2022. So overall, a real solid night for the Mountaineers to get the first win out of the way that really set the table for the rest of the weekend. Then you get to game 2, and you talk about strong pitching. It was another strong night from starting pitching. Chasen Cole, 5 innings, 6 Ks, only allowed 2 runs. So you talk about the performance that you got from your starting pitchers the first 2 nights that really set West Virginia up well. And then Ian Korn, you know, earned the win. He's been outstanding. He pitched 4 scoreless innings in relief while striking out 3. So you talk about Cole passing the torch to Korn was absolutely massive for the Mountaineers in this one and getting really strong pitching. And then again, you have to mention Gavin Kelly again, 6 home runs in his last 5 games. So he's just on an absolute tear and been one of the most exciting players to watch in a Mountaineer baseball uniform. And then I think a really cool thing about the weekend was the homecoming for Paul Schoenfeld. Hit his 3rd home run of the season, and he had about 100 people at each of these games throughout the weekend. So it's really cool to see guys go back to their hometown or their home states and play in front of their faithful. And it was really cool to see Schoenfeld hit a home run in front of his family and his friends. I'm sure that's a moment that he's never going to forget. And then Graveline is great. You know, he had a 3-hit day. He's been a guy that's been a super big pickup for the Mountaineers coming over from Ohio State. So Graveline, really nice day at the dish for him. And then it was the highest ranked road series win in program history. So that's obviously huge as well. You know, we talk about history, and history was made a lot in this weekend as each game you're going to see it. And this one was no different. So absolutely huge for the Mountaineers in this one. Like I said, Ian Korn got the win. You look at Graveline had the double, home runs by Kelly and Schoenfeld, RBIs by Kelly, Schoenfeld, Kresser, and just an overall solid day for the Mountaineers as they wrapped up the series win there. Then you go to Sunday's game, yesterday's game, and it was just the icing on the cake. Again, history made. It's the first series sweep of a top 25 team on the road for the Mountaineers in program history. So again, this was a history in the making weekend. You talk about West Virginia playing a red hot Kansas team coming into this one, but now all of a sudden Kansas is ice cold. They've lost 4 games in a row, and West Virginia now is in the conversation for possibly taking the Big 12 again, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And then Sean Smith had a sensational day, 3 for 5 with a home run and 4 RBI. Really cool moment when Sean Smith hit the home run. West Virginia put the Country Roads helmet on him, the white football helmet, and I thought that was really cool to see football and baseball blended. I know it looked really cool on TV and it looked really cool on social media. So Sean Smith having a nice season and came up big for the Mountaineers yesterday. I think overall yesterday, obviously when you put up 13 runs, it's going to be a team effort, and a lot of guys in the lineup did some really solid things. You look at Schoenfeld and Hall with 2 hits and 3 RBIs each. Kresser had 2 RBIs. Gavin Kelly, Guzman both scored 2 runs, and Basinger pitched so well. We talk about him getting the ball in the 4th inning, and he never gave the ball back up. He went 5 scoreless innings, had 2 hits and 4 Ks. So you look at the bullpen and what Basinger and Korn did this weekend. It's going to be really interesting to see what West Virginia does with that starting rotation spot with Dawson Montesa. Basinger and Korn could be the guy come postseason play that they're throwing out there on the mound to give West Virginia a little bit more. Montesa has been up and down this season, and when you're in postseason play and you're in a double elimination tournament, you have to throw your best guys out there. So that's going to be an interesting decision for Steve Sabins and what they're going to do with that pitching spot, because right now Cole and Yehl have been really solid. You're kind of look for that third starter, so we'll see what West Virginia does there. But overall, again, you had a 10-run win over at the time a top 10 program, and it was just a huge weekend for the Mountaineers. Absolutely blown away by what they did. And if you look at a few weeks ago, a lot of people left this team. They thought the team was heading in the wrong direction. They had a very ugly loss against Pittsburgh, and it just seemed like it was going in the wrong direction. But this team has constantly battled back from adversity a lot this year, and they've responded in big ways. And it's just a sign of a really good baseball team that we have here in Morgantown. And then you look at the Big 12 standings. Like we said, this is the last weekend of the series coming up this weekend. There's going to be a lot on the line. Kansas magic number is 3. So any combination of that 3 would get Kansas the Big 12 championship. West Virginia definitely made it interesting going into the last weekend of the series of the year. And you see here, West Virginia has a matchup at home versus TCU on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week. So I expect it to be a raucous crowd in Morgantown for this one. Get your butt there, because there's some high quality baseball going on in Morgantown. So TCU comes to town. You can see where they're ranked. They have a solid 16-11 Big 12 record. And then you see West Virginia with a 19-8 Big 12 record. So this should be a really, really fun series this weekend in Morgantown. And then Kansas is in an interesting spot. They're going to have all the pressure. They should have really wrapped this up this weekend in their eyes, I'm sure. All they needed was, a combination of that magic number 3, and they didn't get any. So they're going to be probably pressing a little bit to try to get a win here. BYU is a very good hitting baseball team, so the pressure is definitely going to be on Kansas, in my opinion, on this one. So this at least gave you a reason to watch this weekend. Not only the West Virginia scores, but also the Kansas scores. And let's see if the Mountaineers have another run in them to see if they can hoist another Big 12 regular season trophy. It would be super exciting if they were able to get this done. So definitely check that out this weekend. And then the top 25 rankings come out, and when you sweep a top 10 opponent, you can flip spots. So West Virginia now is in the 9 hole, so you can see the top 25 rankings according to D1 Baseball. And UCLA is at 1, UNC 2, Georgia Tech, Georgia, Auburn, Texas, Oregon State, Southern Miss, and now West Virginia in that 9 spot. So again, Steve Sabins 2 years in a row has this team nationally relevant, and a lot of good things can be said about him in this program right now. They have a lot of momentum. So it's great to see us in the rankings in something. I know it's been a little bit since football and basketball we've been in the national rankings, but in baseball, they're definitely pulling their weight and repping the flying WV. All right, let's talk about Deuce McBride real quick. So I had to talk about this. It's the Jersey Ear Show. So I live in North Jersey. So I identify with New York sports and not the Philadelphia sports. A lot of times, when you live in this area, it can be very rough living next to Philadelphia sports fans. They're pretty brutal and they'll let you know about it. So the fact is, this series was awesome as a West Virginia fan and as a Knick fan, right? So as a Knick fan, anytime you can beat a Philadelphia team, it's satisfying, especially the way they did it, winning by 30 points, and then to see Deuce McBride have the game that he had yesterday truly gives you some pride. I have a lot of Knicks fans, and whenever Deuce does anything good, I'm always texting them and saying, "Did you see Deuce? Did you see Deuce? Where did he go to school?" We're excited to see our own do well. So Deuce yesterday went nuts in the first quarter. Really was one of the major reasons why the Knicks got out to such a big lead, was because what he did in that first quarter. He puts up 25 points, shot 7 for 9 from 3-point range, which is absolutely huge. And look at that plus minus number. 33 points is just a great number for plus minus. So Deuce has been a guy that has put his head down and worked and continues to get better. If you look at his career, he's definitely one of the more solid players on the Knicks, and the fans absolutely love Deuce. Anytime he hits a shot, you can hear the Deuce going nuts. It sounds like you're almost in Morgantown again. So seeing Deuce play well is super exciting, and you can see the Knicks have a shot here now. They just swept the 76ers. They're going to have a little bit of a layoff here as the Pistons and Cavaliers finish up their series, and the Knicks have a legitimate shot, in my opinion, to possibly win the whole thing right now. Definitely at least make the finals. So it's exciting. Just for West Virginia as a basketball program, this would be massive if Deuce was able to get a ring. We talked about Missoula winning as the head coach of the Celtics, and I think that brought a lot of publicity to the Mountaineer basketball program. And I think this would be right there with it. Having one of your own guys that, was not in the transfer portal, was one of our own through and through, win an NBA title would be absolutely huge. It'd be awesome to see Deuce come back and work out in Morgantown with that ring. Who knows? Maybe you can honor him before an early season football game, before NBA preseason takes place. Who knows? But it's just all positive. So congratulations to Deuce McBride. Congratulations to the New York Knicks. Just a super exciting time to be a Mountaineer fan and a Knick fan right now. So all positive vibes. And that's all I got. Again, short video. Just wanted to highlight both the both the baseball team and the Knicks and Deuce McBride. Clean sweep, baby. It was a great weekend to be a Mountaineer. It was a great time to be a Deuce McBride and a Knicks fan. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the show. We'll talk to you guys next time on the Jersey Year Show.